Okay guys, this video is just for people who were in the PSAT testing or the ASVAB testing today. The rest of you guys, we did all this together in class. But I wanted to go ahead and just do a quick review of a couple of things to get you prepped for the test. So the first thing we did is we reviewed how to convert each angle to radians. So that's the first formula that you need to know for your test, which is Friday. So to convert, you're going to multiply degrees times pi over 180. So if I give you 10 degrees, you would do 10 times pi over 180. Go ahead and make sure your calculator is definitely in degrees. For Friday's test, it needs to stay in degrees. Alrighty, so I go ahead and multiply, I get 10 pi over 180, and now I just reduce. So 10 divided by 180, and I get pi over 18. Alrighty, so let's do negative 105. So same thing, it would be negative 105 times pi over 180. So I get negative 105 pi over 180, and now I just reduce that. And if you're right, you get negative 7 pi over 12. Okay? Let's talk about how to go from radians to degrees. Okay? So convert each angle to degrees. Alright, so to get to degrees, I'm going to do radian times 180 over pi. So let's say I give you 5 pi over 12, and I give you negative 13 pi over 20. Alright, so I'm going to multiply by 180 over pi. So you multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom. So I get 900 pi over 12 pi, and what happens to your pi's? They cancel out, and then you just do 900 divided by 12 is 75 degrees. Alright, so you try number 2. Multiply by 180 over pi, and now go ahead and figure out the rest of your answer. So I get negative 2340 pi over 20 pi, and now your pi's cancel. When you clean it up, you should have gotten negative 117. Okay? Next thing I want to review with you prior to you doing your classwork for today. Okay? Find a positive angle less than 360 or 2 pi that is a coterminal angle for each. So to get a coterminal angle, you have to be under 360 or under 2 pi. So if I want to get 11/3 pi back underneath 2 pi, I'm just going to keep subtracting 2 pi until I get below 2. So again, I can use my calculator to help me. So 11/3 minus 2. Notice that that decimal is under 2, so I'm good. Convert it back to a fraction, and I get 5 pi over 3. If it's 510, instead of subtracting 2 pi, I'm going to subtract 360, and I get 150 degrees. So a coterminal angle just has to be more than, it has to be less than 360, and it has to be positive. Okay, and that was actually part 3. Alright, let's look at part 4. Sketch each angle in standard form. And state what quadrant it's in. So, when it says standard form, that means I want all the little curls. So, for example, what's the first thing that I need to do with this 22/3? Let's go ahead and write him as a mixed number. So, 3 will divide into 22 7 times with 1 left over. So, really, this is -7 pi over 3. Because of the negative, I am going to move counterclockwise. So here I go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a third. That's my angle. Therefore, I lie in quadrant 2. Okay? Let's try 300 degrees. So do you agree this is 0, 90, 180, 270? So if I'm at 300 degrees, oh my goodness, I labeled this totally wrong. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. 0, 90, 180, 270. How about that? Whew. So 300 degrees would be in this quadrant over here, which is quadrant 4. Alright, -110. Again, because of the negative, I'm going to move clockwise. So I am there in quadrant 3. Now 25/4, I'm going to go ahead and write it as a mixed number to start with. So I get 6 and pi over 4. Now, it's positive, so this time I'm going counterclockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a 4. So I would be in quadrant 1. So if I ask for standard, I want all these loop-de-loops. Okay? Alright, 2 more quick things, and then you'll be set to practice your what would be your homework tonight. We did it in class today. Find the exact value for each angle. Alright, so get your little trig help sheet out. And we're ready to roll. So the first thing we need to do is figure out what our reference angle is. So if you remember, if it's already in this way, the reference angle is just whatever the denominator is. So my reference angle is a pi over 4. The reason I need my reference angle is because that tells me to come to pi over 4 in my chart, read the cosine, square root of 2 over 2. Now what we have to decide is what quadrant is -19/4 in. So I'm going to go ahead and divide, just like I did to get this where his standard position was. So I get 4 and 3/4. So this is -4 and 3 pi over 4. Okay, since it's a pi over 4, we're going to use this wagon wheel. It's negative, so I'm going to move clockwise. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 3/4. 1, 2, 3. So I lie in quadrant 3. In quadrant 3, what is cosine? Cosine is negative. So that is my answer. So that's what we're doing here. We're first finding what its reference angle is to look in our chart and deciding the quadrant for the sine. Okay, let's do this one. Now, I could convert him to radians if you wanted to, but do you agree that he's got to be in quadrant 4? And we know how to find his reference angle by saying, if I take 360 away from 300, I know I'm dealing with a 60-degree angle. So I look at sine 60 degrees, and I get square root of 3 over 2. Now, my only question is, in quadrant 4, what is sine? So quadrant 4, sine is negative. Alright, let's try the next one. Tangent of 120. So I'm here. So what am I going to subtract from this time to figure out what magic angle 120 is? I'm closest to 180, so let's do 180 minus 120, and again I find out it's really a 60-degree angle, and I want tangent. So look at your chart. 60-degree angle, tangent is the square root of 3. I am in quadrant 2. What is tangent? So quadrant 2, tangent is negative. Alright, the last one. I divide 3 into 23, and I get, what, 7 and 2/3? Okay, so I'm looking at this one because he has the thirds. I'm going to go 7 times, counter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 2/3. I am in quadrant 4. In quadrant 4, cosine is positive. And I need to look at my pi over 3. So pi over 3, cosine, 1/2. Okay, and again, I understand I might be going a little quick, but this is review, so if you need to hit pause to slow me down, that's okay. Alright, last one. The directions would say solve this triangle on the test. You would be given a triangle with capital A, capital B, capital C, little a, little b, little c, and I would tell you angle A is 32.4 degrees and little b is 3.8. Okay, so let's fill in what we know. We know angle A is 32.4 and we know little b is 3.8. Now, I don't like little a and little c because remember we do A for adjacent. So what I like to do is go ahead and scribble them out, make him X and make him a Y. So when it says solve this triangle, it wants me to find everything that's missing. So what's missing? Angle B, X, Y. Well, let's start with the easy guy, angle B. How many degrees are in any triangle? 180. So I'm going to take away the 90 and the 32.4. And I get that angle B is 57.6 degrees. Now, to find X, let's think back to SOHCAHTOA. So the first thing I need to do is label the O, the A, the H. So when I am standing at 32.4, do you agree that X is opposite me? Y is the hypotenuse, which means 3.8 is adjacent. So to find X, I have opposite and adjacent. Opposite and adjacent is tangent. And tangent wants O over A, so X over 3.8. If you remember, we went ahead and always put a little 1 under here and we cross multiplied. So I got X is equal to 3.8 times the tangent of 32.4. And when you type that in your calculator, you get 2.4. Alright, let's ignore X and now let's work on Y. So to get Y, I have the A and the H. A and H is cosine. So I'm going to do the cosine of 32.4 is equal to 3.8 over y. Again, let's put a little 1 underneath him and cross multiply. So I get y times the cosine of 32.4 is equal to 3.8. So to get y all by itself, I divide by the cosine of 32.4. And when you type that in your calculator, you should get 4.5. Okay? So now you guys are ready to go ahead and do the practice problems. I understand homework might take a little bit longer for those of you who were not in class, and then tomorrow we'll finish the test review in class. All right? You guys have a great evening. Hope you did good on the PSAT.